We have put on 4 Let's Get Digital events so far, so not bad. And that also gives us enough time to start ranking. So right before this, because the topic today is SEO, I decided to just go pull up our Google Search Console to see how are we doing for Let's Get Digital. We didn't really have a keyword strategy when we started. Our website was a type form, so not really a good SEO strategy in the beginning. But here we do. So we have some impressions. We are currently getting results for Let's Get Up, Let's Get On It, Let's Get Drinks, Let's Get Free, Let's Get It, and Video Marketing Cedar Rapids. I don't know how that one showed up at all, but I think we have some work to do. So we decided to put together a panel of experts like we do every single month on the topic to help us figure out how to get back on the right track and also share their wisdom and experience from ranking websites for the last decade in their disciplines. There is so much changing in that space. We had a talk on social, we had a talk on video, and I truly believe SEO has been light years of difference in how much has changed even compared to those disciplines. So let's go ahead and bring up our speakers, Tyler and Sherry, and Tim will be here in a second. So come on up. All right, on. I just want to commend you, Tim, on your impeccable timing. That was
really good. Yeah.
That was brilliant. I couldn't have done that better if I planned. Okay, right on. Well, this is great. So for everyone here that's not familiar with some of your work, why don't we just go ahead and maybe start with Tyler so you have a second to catch yourself and just do an intro on who you are, what you do, and then share one relevant career highlight so that we can understand the scope of, why you got here today.
My name is Tyler Hakes. I am the strategy director and principal of a content marketing agency called Optimist. My sort of claim to fame, I guess, was my work here for a startup in Iowa City called College Raptor. I led marketing and growth for them, and we scaled from 0 to 100,000 organic users a month in about a year. So that was kind of our big achievement.
Hi, I am Sherry Bonelli with Early Bird Digital Marketer. I'm the owner. I would say one of my achievements was last year I was awarded Search Engine Land's SEO Top Contributor of the Year. So I write for Search Engine Land and won their award last year.
I'm Tim Lane, the late one.
Welcome.
I am a senior digital marketing strategist at Geonetric, which is a digital agency that works exclusively in the healthcare industry. I would say my claim to fame would probably be there. Taking us from kind of a secondary service for our software into more of an actual digital agency providing SEO and everything else.
Right on. So, and by the way, I appreciate you filling in. Rick couldn't make it today, and Tim is just an outstanding digital strategist with an SEO background, so we're excited to learn from you too. So just for fun, we had this little thought experiment at the office that I thought I could see your answers to it, and maybe you all can share yours later, which is, if you were to go deep past page 10, what might someone find about you? So if you Googled your name and went all the way back, people really don't go back past the first page. If you went past page 10, what is something funny, interesting, surprising someone might find?
I'm not sure where this ranks exactly, but when I was in college and shortly after, I ran a hip hop magazine called Above Ground. So you'll probably find that somewhere out on the internet.
I think I have seen that.
You would probably find that I was on the Today Show.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah.
Mine's not as cool. You would probably find that I skied, snowboarded a couple resorts in Colorado in a Speedo. So that would be...
He wins.
Is that YouTube?
It's all over.
Yeah. I know I was debating whether it was my sort of failed breakdancing career or if it was my street racing in Chicago or if it was the one time I was in a newspaper at a car show in 1999, and those links really just index. They do not move around. So those citations they stick with you for years. Okay, so I know that SEO is a big topic, and we're trying to break it down as best as possible. So I was hoping everyone here could just share, since you're all coming from, for a little bit of background, a different discipline inside of SEO, what I would consider local SEO, content marketing SEO, technical SEO. They're all different elements of what makes a website rank in search engines. And so I'm hoping you all could share, just at the top, your take on the state of SEO today, and specifically, what should people understand? What's sort of exciting and working in your world? So feel free to unpack that however you feel best fit.
Do we just want to talk about it?
Why don't you just talk about it?
Okay. I mean, one thing I think that you guys are probably all agree is Google, I think, looks for authority and trustworthiness. When they're trying to figure out how to rank a page or a website, they don't want to pick a crappy website or crappy content. They want something that's authoritative, something that's trustworthy. So if you think you're going to write content just for the sake of writing content and rank high, that's not going to work, right, guys?
Yeah, I call that blog and pray strategy, which I think doesn't generally work anymore. I think, yeah, the other takeaway there is just you also you can't fake it, right? So like a lot of like black and gray hat tactics in SEO have worked a lot over the years, and increasingly Google and the other search engines have cracked down on that, and they've done a good job of refining their algorithm to weed out the people who just do SEO well and don't actually create value for people who are searching for things. And so I think, yeah, just focusing on creating value is really the most important thing at this point.
And then I also think with regard to that, if you're running, how many local business owners do we have in the audience? Okay. So with regard to local business owners, you have to get potential customers to trust you. One of the ways you can do that is with like online reviews, getting legitimate reviews from customers. That's really important. That's also a local ranking factor. A lot of business owners don't realize that, but Google takes that into consideration when they're trying to determine how a business ranks. So not only is that going to earn trust from potential customers, but it also can help your rankings as well. Google My Business, claiming and optimizing that is probably the biggest way you can make an impact ranking locally on Google especially.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the Google My Business stuff. That's a big focus of what we do. I've always kind of thought of SEO, more specifically traffic to your website, as Google's traffic and you're just borrowing it for a set number of time. That helps me to kind of put into perspective that Google's algorithms, which you used to be able to chase and now you can't, is always going to determine how you get that traffic. And I think every year we always talk about how SEO is making these big shifts, but in reality, they're just kind of iterative. I think this is kind of the first time that I've seen where they are doing some really massive shifts to the way that they analyze user intent. So now it's going from trying to provide a lot of content that's based on research and kind of informing, and now it's more answering questions. So just the way that Google's trying to serve up that data has shifted quite a bit recently. So that's the strategy's got to shift along with it.
And I think along with user intent is optimizing for voice search. Voice search is going to be probably the biggest shift, I think, in SEO coming up, and it's already starting to take effect because a lot of people, when they do voice search, are looking for local businesses. So don't just think about like Amazon Echo or those devices, but also using your smartphones to do voice searches. You really need to start thinking about how you're going to optimize for your website for voice search. So there are different strategies that you can do and implement to help you rank locally on voice search devices as well.
Well, I'm just curious, how many people here have searched for something by speaking into Siri, their phone, and Amazon, Alexa, any of those devices?
Yeah.
Okay, that's basically what the stats would say too. Like 80% of people have done it. That's pretty impressive. So I wonder what that number is going to be next year. I mean, you can imagine that when you get an answer, it's one answer. It's typically not the same results that you're getting on your desktop or your phone.
Yeah, and even among the different devices, you're going to get different answers and different results. But, the most interesting thing is Yelp is probably the biggest feed to most of those devices. So if you don't have a Yelp listing, chances are you're not showing up, and most people don't realize that. So, there's different strategies with local voice search. So those are things that you need to start looking into if you own a local business.
Well, so let's also talk about people that are just starting out in SEO. I'm not going to make you raise your hands if you tell me how many years of SEO experience you have. Okay, I do want to know who here in the audience knows the name of the latest Google algorithm change. Yeah, like who cares? But people do care a lot, actually. So that to me is a sign that maybe we should start at the top with just what is one practical piece of advice for someone that's trying to, I'll give you two examples of scenarios you can do. Have a brand new website and try to rank for their most important keyword or the most important topic that's possible for that business. And then what is a piece of advice for someone just getting started with SEO with a more established site to really revamp their rankings? Just go through the process, mindset, anything.
I mean, I think the first part of any strategy, I think where people get it backwards is that they start by planning, like especially if you're starting a site from scratch, you start by planning your site and thinking about the pages that you care about first, and then you try to sort of shoehorn in like a keyword strategy on top of that. And a lot of times that's where you end up with kind of like a Frankenstein SEO strategy. And so I think if I was going to start a site today from scratch, I would start with that keyword research phase, really understanding the terms that are related to whatever my business is, and then building the structure of my site to take advantage of that. Because I think it's increasingly more and more difficult to kind of retroactively optimize your site, especially when you're talking about like your core pages, like your services or your products or whatever it is that you want to rank for eventually.
Yeah, absolutely. Never build a site and then try and optimize for it. That's probably one of the worst things you can do. So if you're starting out with a new business, definitely get an SEO professional in there to help during the build. Don't wait until the site is built and then say, hey, can you help me do that? Because that's, I think, one of the worst things from an SEO perspective. If you're a professional, to try and go in and fix it after the fact, that's really difficult to do. The other thing is when you're looking for those keyword phrases, think about questions people are asking when they're trying to look for your business products or services. What questions are they asking? And then write content around answering those questions. So talk to your sales reps, talk to your customer support team. What questions are customers asking when they're calling, asking about your products and services? And then write content around those questions, because that's going to help you with ranking and help you overall with SEO.
Well, and just in a practical sense, so let's say they figure out the top 5 questions that people ask that they might search for too. Do those become blog posts? Do those become pillar resource pages on the site? What's the best format for taking a question that you want to answer and then making it useful?
All of the above.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, the cool thing about web pages and websites is they're unlimited, right? So you can make videos out of those questions and answers and put them on your YouTube channel. You can make little short videos for your social media. You can make Q&A pages. You can write blog posts specifically about individual questions and answers. I mean, I think you can do all of it. You're a content dude over there. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it really just depends on what keywords or key phrases you're talking about. In some cases, yeah, it makes sense. You want a blog post that's phrased as a question and answer. And in other cases, the answer to that question is a product page or a specific page on your site that's more of a static resource. So I think it really depends, but definitely, yeah, all of the above are applicable depending on the scenario.
I think kind of to look more holistically, I think a big thing is understanding what your strategy is, going in and having a strategy and not just trying to be reactive to like everything you read for SEO or reacting to algorithm updates. Not trying to chase those things. Know what your goals are as a business offline, and then figure out how you support those goals online, and then build from there. Blog posts might not make sense for your industry. Videos might not make sense for you, or they might not be in the budget. So understanding what your capacity is and what your capability and your velocity is, and making that fit your business goals, and then having that website just be kind of like another branch of whatever your business is.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. Not every business should be creating blogs. You can create internal pages for your site that is brand new content that Google will like if it's valuable. So if you are a plumber, for instance, maybe blogging isn't the best thing for you, but you can create individual pages that are linked to from other pages that provide valuable information that your customers are going to find. So there's different strategies that you can implement that aren't necessarily a blog, for instance.
Yeah, when you start digging into that keyword research, understanding where they are in your funnel. So however you kind of generate leads typically, design your keyword research around that. So if you're going to have broad terms and you're trying to create that kind of brand awareness on your site, that's good, kind of seeing what of those have search traffic and local search results, because I know in our industry there's a lot of different keywords that don't return local results, so they're not very useful for us. And then if you want them to be further down the funnel, so strategizing within all of these strategies on how they kind of coincide with each other, because not all keyword research is the same. Just because, I don't know, something retail, if you're selling shoes, you might do some keyword research around just general shoe sales, and then you might do research around like running shoes or like running shoes for women. And like the more keyword research you get down, the more you can impact where people come in on that funnel, and then strategize accordingly.
I have two questions. The first one is, how come every business example is always a plumber and running shoes? I don't know how it always is, but anytime you read a how-to guide, it's like, imagine you're a plumber. I don't know why, it always is. So my real question is, what is the most overrated and underrated tactic or approach in SEO right now? So the thing that you're seeing people get recommended a lot that maybe is a little bit, it over-indexes is something that you think everyone should be doing, and something that maybe is we should stop doing as a population today. So what comes to mind?
I'll start with an overrated tactic. This is for anyone who's kind of deep in the SEO game or content world, the skyscraper strategy. Which was and still to some extent is kind of a legitimate strategy, but the problem is that, so I guess just a quick synopsis for folks who might not know, is basically the idea is find something that ranks or has a lot of links and try to create a better version of that, and then sort of steal those links from other people. But the problem is that people have done it basically to death, and they do it by sort of incrementally improving on the existing resources and not really creating any new value. And then they just like spam the crap out of people with emails trying to get links. And I think it's really like, frankly, sort of killing like the natural link outreach processes that do work.
So like if someone writes an article about 15 tips, your article about 25 tips is not a better version of that that's going to deserve links.
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly right.
And what about, what would you say is something that's underrated right now too?
I would say something that we are sort of increasingly implementing is taking complex ideas and creating like simple graphics that can be used as like a reference in other content. So I mean, I think like in general, when you think about SEO, you think about like building links. One of the best ways to build links is to create something that adds context to something that someone else writes. And so if you're talking about a complex topic or like a theory or something, say like the 2 factors of motivation or something that's like an academic theory, and you can create like a visual asset. It doesn't have to necessarily be like a long form infographic or anything like that, but just something that distills like a complex topic into something that's easily digestible. That becomes a valuable resource for anyone else who is then writing about that topic in the future, and sort of naturally accrues links and helps you rank in the future.
And I'll give you a shout out that Optimist, if you go check out their site, we steal a lot of ideas from them, but that is one thing that you do very well, those little micro graphics. Instead of the big, long infographic strategy, it's the micro ones actually do well. What comes to mind, Sherry?
I think one of the things that's not probably used as much as it should be is the partnership with social media. So if you, for instance, are a local business, or even if you're not a local business, you should be establishing relationships with influencers within your industry and sharing things that you're writing for your website with those industry partners and influencers, and also liking what they're doing, maybe responding and commenting to what they're doing, and trying to get on their radar, because that's one thing that I don't think people are taking advantage of, because you can get incredible opportunities for them to share information, especially if, for instance, you write a blog post and you mention them and you tag them in a tweet or on Facebook or whatever, they have software that's going to find that. And in a lot of cases, they'll retweet that out to their followers. And so you can get a lot of traffic to your site that way. And you can get on their radar, and you can get incredible exposure and even some, backlink opportunities and new visitors to your website that you wouldn't otherwise have gotten. And that can help boost your rankings and build other opportunities for networking that you wouldn't otherwise have gotten. So I don't think a lot of people are taking advantage of the social media aspect of, partnering with the SEO portion of your digital marketing strategy.
Did you say an overrated one?
What?
Did you say an overrated one?
No, I think that's one people aren't using as much as they should.
Okay. Do you have an overrated? I can go.
The overrated one, I still
my
hear
job for
people wanting to, I still see local businesses wanting to keyword stuff pages. I mean, I still can't believe the number of businesses that I work with that are still listing every surrounding city on every single page that they serve, and you would think that they wouldn't be still doing that, but they are. So, just keyword stuffing, please don't do it, guys.
So is there any evidence that works to any extent? Or is it now that the search engines pretty clearly know where you're searching from and you don't need to put every surrounding county?
Google knows where you're at.
Google knows where you are. Takeaway of the day.
This probably won't go over well. I think the most overrated SEO initiative is voice search. I don't think that Google is there yet to fully understand it. I don't think we're there yet to fully understand it. I don't think it's a completely different initiative to optimize for it. You should be optimizing to kind of answer questions anyways, because searches are becoming more conversational. So I think people are pumping a lot of resources into something that isn't completely developed yet. And I think people are getting really focused on it. I'm not saying it's not going to happen. I just don't think it's here yet, and I don't think it's going to be here for a little while. Most underrated, I think, is splitting or parsing out local strategy away from the rest of your strategy. That to me is a very different beast and requires a different kind of mindset going into it. And I think for probably most people in this room, local is very important. So kind of whether that's reputation management for you, whether that's having GMB listings. In healthcare, we have health systems where they have 5,000 GMB listings that are getting managed, and that drives a lot of traffic. And then coupled with UTMs, which isn't really a SEO thing, but I will scream UTMs till I die.
Do you want to explain that?
UTMs, for people that don't know, are if you ever click on a link and there's like this long kind of fragment after it, you might see like source, medium, campaign. That is a way to track that click or that initiative or that medium within Google Analytics. So pretty much my general rule of thumb is if the link exists off your website, it should have a UTM attached to it. That way, when you go into Google Analytics and you're running a specific kind of initiative for maybe one product you're selling, you can say that emails haven't worked to drive actual leads. This has worked. Instead of just seeing everything show up as like direct or referral, you have specific tags to those.
So what you're saying is you start up a Google My Business profile. Even on those, you have and recommend using that free UTM builder and mentioning where it's coming from so that traffic is identifiable in Google Analytics.
Yep. Yeah. I actually have a spreadsheet that I just plug in what I want the source, medium, campaign. There's a couple other ones that aren't as widely used, and it'll build that UTM for me.
Right.
So I don't accidentally mess it up. I don't use a capital instead of a lowercase somewhere and not aggregate properly, and it just helps me keep track of which ones I'm currently using.
Right on. Cool. Yeah, and speaking of tools, I feel like the SEO game is largely synonymous with the type of tools you use, and a lot of people talk about that, and certainly it can be overrated, but if you have people here that are in different stages of SEO practice, what would you recommend are the go-to tools to learn more practices about how their website is performing and improve their SEO? Pros and cons, not like the full review, but what is your go-to?
I have two main tools that I often recommend. The first one is a little bit more of a basic tool, but I think especially if you're not thinking about SEO all the time and you're trying to get into the mindset of it, there's a Chrome extension called Keywords Everywhere. You can install it, and basically it just shows you keyword data for any Google search that you perform. It also shows it in various places like on YouTube and things like that. I think it's just a good reminder, especially if you're looking at your site from Google standpoint, or you're looking at competitors and things like that. You can sort of see which keywords are people plugging in, what are related terms that they're searching for, and things like that. So that one I think is a little bit less actionable, just because it's very acute to the scenario that you're in when you're Googling something. But I would say our main tool that we use for all of our clients, and both big and small, is Ahrefs. And it's really a pretty comprehensive tool. It does everything from backlink analysis to rank tracking for different keywords and keyword research and all kinds of stuff. So if you really want to get into it and develop your own strategy and really find actionable data and insights, I think that's probably my top pick for that tool set.
Yeah, so Ahrefs is awesome. It's higher priced. Yeah, so it's monthly. How much that your agency rate? But I think it's around $200 a month probably if you get one license.
It starts at $100.
Yeah, I think it's $100. Yeah.
Okay, so so SEMrush is about the same. So I like SEMrush. That's a tool that I like. Another tool I like just for foundational ranking reports is Bright Local. That's a super simple way to kind of check and see where you're ranking for keywords. Ranking is a little bit difficult to gauge because everyone sees different results, so it's not as cut and dry as it used to be, but it gives you a good idea as far as how you're ranking. So Bright Local is a good tool. They have other tools as well. They have reputation tools where you can ask for reviews from clients and customers on your website. So they have other tools as well, but I like Bright Local. LSI Graph is a really easy to use keyword research tool. I think it's $49 a year or something like that, but it's super simple to use and really easy to enter a keyword in. You can also get suggestions as far as content suggestions, which is kind of cool. And then if you're trying to figure out which type of questions real people are asking about a topic, Answer the Public is a really good way to find out what real people are asking about a particular topic. So you just enter in a keyword and you'll find a ton of questions that people are asking about that subject.
Very creepy homepage.
Very creepy.
Homepage. You'll see what I mean in a minute.
He's my favorite guy. My favorite tools, we use Bright Local and Moz and SEMrush and all those, but Google Analytics and Google Search Console are probably my two favorite tools. They're both free. I really like looking at my own data to make decisions and see what my users are doing as opposed to just the market. Ideally, they should be very similar, if not the same, but it's not always the case. Actually, it's very rarely the case. So I use those and kind of analyze where things are going well on my site, where things are going wrong. Search Console lets you see search queries that people typed in to get to your website, which is a great place to start to optimize your keywords and do some keyword research around that. Keyword planning tool from Google for keyword research to kind of see what kind of volume you can expect. I like a lot of really free tools. I like to just kind of analyze that sort of data. But yeah, Search Console and analytics are pretty much my bread and butter.
I don't know about you guys. What I found is that I like to have a couple different tools because what I found is that some tools do some things better than others. And so, I have several different tools that I use just because some of them are easier to use in some areas. Some of them have better content analysis tools better than others. Some of them just do better things. So I like to have a couple of them.
Like I said, SEO people love tools. I don't know. They try everything. They buy all of them. So who here has a good question, a burning question that they have that the panel can answer? We answer about one, so go ahead in the back.
It's kind of a two-part question. We've all received the phone calls that say your Google listing is broken, and I want to know what your answers are to those questions. To know, okay, how do you explain what SEO is to a person that doesn't understand SEO? And then the second part of the question is, where is the end person, or where is that person going to see the results? When can they anticipate the SEO investment that they've made to pay off?
Okay, so the question for those listening to the podcast later, all 17 of you, is how do you respond to the question about results and when those results come in, and sort of combating basically all of the people that hound you over the phone and try to sell in SEO services that may or may not work. Basically, what is your take on that, and how do you communicate that to your clients, since we rarely, but do today, have a full agency panel?
So I think it's really important to have conversations early about the goal, as I mentioned. If you can kind of get aligned on that really early from the beginning, it's a lot easier to get that buy-in and then convey those results, because you know where you're looking already. Beyond that, I use Google Tag Manager. That's probably my other favorite tool for everything. So I track anything you do on our websites, and I link those to our goals. So proving the results gets really easy that way, because I can assign dollar values to events and goals in GA. And instead of saying, like, we drove 900 page views yesterday, I can say we drove $6,000 in revenue based on numbers that we had already discussed and agreed upon. So I've never had an issue with proving the success of SEO. As far as the other question about, like, what is SEO, it's just another piece of your marketing tools. It's just how you can better generate traffic and potentially leads, depending on how well you do your keyword research, to your website, or as I like to refer to it, to your online branch. So the other initiatives you do in kind of legacy marketing to get people to walk into your store, you're doing the same thing online, trying to get people to walk into your website.
And by the way, when you're doing the return on investment calculations, are you setting a value for specific pages, or is it that they completed an event, like filled out a form, and therefore you sign in a value for the lead and those conversion metrics? What would you recommend for people in signing a value to the website?
Yeah, mine's all based on events. I would say every other client I have wants to assign values to, like, they viewed 3 pages on my website, and I don't, like, what's the revenue there? I don't care if they visited 3 pages. So it's filling out forms, calling with a call lasts X amount of time, any sort of thing. Get directions if that's on the website. Anything that is actionable, we assign values to that, and we usually lowball it. That way, when you give that total revenue, whenever you're reporting, you can confidently say it's higher than this. At the bare minimum, it was this amount.
It's a good idea.
So first of all, what I tell either prospective clients or clients when they receive those phone calls saying your Google My Business listing is messed up, I tell them it's somebody who wants your money. So hang up the phone immediately, because, those are just people in India trying to get your money. So, but with regard to what search engine optimization is, it's basically a way for you to put, it's a strategy, an online strategy for you to do things on your site and off your site for Google and the other search engines to position your website to rank higher when people are doing searches. So that's kind of the simplistic form of what organic SEO is, organic search engine optimization. So there are things you can do on your site and off your site to increase the likelihood of Google choosing pages on your site to rank high when someone does a search for a particular keyword. So that's kind of the simplistic version of what SEO is. And then with regard to how long it takes for search engine optimization strategies to kind of show results, it can vary. So if you optimize and claim a Google My Business listing, sometimes you can see results within weeks, depending on how competitive your niche is, whether or not you've selected the right categories, how many reviews you get, whether or not you've filled out all the fields that are required, whether or not you're posting, those types of things. How many other citation sites or online directories you have the client listed on. Just from doing those simple strategies for a local business, sometimes they can make a huge impact, because if you get in that local 3-pack, boom, you're really, really good. With regard to on-site search engine optimization strategies, that can take a little bit longer. That can take 3, 4, 6 months sometimes for you to start getting those click-throughs, where you get them to fill out a form or get them to call you or whatever. So, it just varies. And it's really hard for clients to be patient sometimes. But, it just all takes time, because Google has to go through, index and see all those pages, figure out whether or not that content's worthy, whether or not the code on that page is easy for the spiders to crawl it, compare it to other websites in your area, all that kind of stuff. So there are a lot of factors that Google takes into consideration. There are literally hundreds of them. to determine whether or not that page is worthy of being in that top position or on that first page search results. So that all can take time. So
I would say, our clients are generally a little bit different. We don't really deal a lot with local businesses. So most of our clients are like tech companies and software as a service type businesses. So I would say, first of all, I think I'm a little bit lucky because I usually don't have to sell people on the value of SEO or content marketing. And they kind of come to us with that expectation. But I mean, I think the way that we try to position it is always that content marketing and SEO for us and for our clients is generally like a baseline of a broader acquisition strategy. So a lot of times what we're doing is we're bringing people to their site at various stages of a buying funnel, but very rarely does someone click into a blog post from Google, read an article, and then immediately sign up for a service. And so it's really about building an acquisition strategy around that traffic that we're able to generate and sort of bringing qualified traffic to their site in the first place. In terms of results, I think if for most of our clients, if we're doing our job well and prioritizing and strategizing effectively, we usually see some measure of success within the first 1 to 2 months. But what we tell people is like the extent to which that is successful to kind of the bottom line metric of like the actual conversions or sales or whatever depends on a lot of other factors besides just the traffic that we're able to generate. But what we want to do is measure that on a consistent basis. Like, are we in general growing? And so you should be able to measure that fairly quickly in most cases. Depending on how competitive your keywords are, you can also measure that as a KPI, like your rankings for a subset of target keywords. So if your business is plumbing in Iowa City, maybe you don't see an immediate spike in traffic in the first month, but if you're implementing well, you should be able to see your page climbing on the rankings, which indicates future success.
Well, and for you, and I'm just really curious, since a month or two you're going to see some results and then it's going to keep climbing from there. I feel like you're also doing something a little different. Tell us about like the volume of the content you're publishing, because I feel like it's a little different too in people's expectations of, I'm starting to rewrite my page titles. You're doing what?
Yeah, I mean, so most of our clients, we're publishing, I don't know, anywhere from 5 to a dozen different articles a month probably. And so, yeah, what we're focused on is, as he mentioned, kind of looking at different stages of the funnel and creating content at different stages. And so, what we realize is that, ranking for something at the bottom of the funnel is going to take longer than ranking for something at the top of the funnel. And so what we try to do is create a strategy that generates some short-term results, starts to sort of fill that acquisition funnel so that you can use other strategies like retargeting and things like that to generate leads or signups or sales, while at the same time, we're working on sort of those more difficult keywords that are going to convert more directly into like a sale or a sign up. Did I answer your question?
And give us one quick example of what a top of the funnel keyword or article would look like versus a bottom of the funnel keyword or page.
Sure. So so like a software as a service company. So like one of our clients is like a CRM, right? So like a sales CRM. So like a top of the funnel could be anything, could be like a persona qualifying thing, like somebody who's looking for how to run a sales report or something basic that we know is related to the function of the software. Whereas like a bottom of the funnel is something like how to choose the right CRM or comparing this CRM tool to another CRM tool, or kind of how to evaluate your needs from a software standpoint. So at that point, that someone has gone through the process of identifying that they have a need, they want to build a sales report, they figured out that the best way to do that is to implement the correct CRM, and now they're at the bottom of the funnel where they're saying, okay, I know I need a CRM that does X, Y, and Z, which ones meet those needs?
Cool, very helpful. So as people take this knowledge and try to apply it, I know that SEO is changing tremendously, and I'd love to geek out about voice search and some of the things that are coming up, but I also want to leave our audience with just 1 to 2 tips from each of you about the thing that you would recommend they go home and do right away, or focus on for the next 12 months while we're still riding what Google considers trustworthy and authoritative today. So speak to one approach you would recommend. I'll just throw out that the thing that's helped us triple our organic traffic in the last 6 months has been in going to old blog posts that we wrote 1 to 4 years ago and just rewriting that post with new updated information, not even like going to Google and writing all the keywords that now we're trying to rank for, just rewriting that post to be more useful at about 500 to 1500 words, and then republishing it with the current publish date. Zoom, we've seen triple, quadruple organic traffic from each of those posts right after we're doing it. And it's like the thing that I recommend people do the fastest if you have been blogging in the past. So what are some of your go-to recommendations?
Yeah, I think that's a great one for sure. And I think like in general, just changing your mindset of like, once you publish something on the web, it doesn't have to be what you published forever. Like you can update it whenever you want, basically. So don't think that once it's out there, like you can never change it. Like there's always opportunity. So if you do publish something and it's not ranking well, you can update it or enhance it or optimize it for different keywords or do whatever you need to do. I think that's a really valuable thing that we see is working right now, and especially because there's so much content that has been historically published. It's just helpful now to kind of go back and refresh and knowing what we know now, and as the algorithm changes and also like the competition of content that's out there changes, it's important to keep updated. I would say also beyond just like the basic keyword optimization strategy is sort of thinking about your content and your website in terms of sort of like clusters or topics. And so this is something that Josh and I have talked about a little bit in the past, but basically the way that Google is moving is that they're trying to not just understand if you are authoritative about a single keyword, but about a range of keywords that all relate to a specific topic. So, going back to the sales reporting example, right? Like, so it may be that somebody who's looking for sales reporting is also interested in sales forecasting and other topics related to that. And so the more sort of topical authority that you can consolidate around those key areas, the more authority Google will give you for sort of all those pages that relate to those topics. And so I think once you get past sort of the baseline of here's the pages that we have, here are the keywords that we're trying to rank for, it's then starting from there and sort of expanding outward and saying what are the related terms that surround those topics, and then planning and creating content or other pages that all tie into those themes.
So if you're just getting into SEO, moz.com has a great beginner's guide, and I think they just updated the majority of that beginner's guide. So it's like an online tutorial. So if you want to kind of learn the nuts and bolts of what search engine optimization is, definitely check that out. So kind of to piggyback off what these two gentlemen have said, when you're thinking about the content on your site, and you want to update your pages, one strategy that is really kind of cool is look at your Google Analytics and check and see which pages are close to ranking on the first page of Google. So if your page is maybe ranking number 6 or number 7, that means you're close to ranking on the first page for that particular keyword. Try internal linking to one of your pages that are ranking already on that first page. Because sometimes if you link to pages on your site that are already ranking high, that can help bump up pages that are close to ranking high. So like you had mentioned, complementary pages and content, sometimes you're not linking to those pages. And if you add internal links to pages on your site from other pages, that can help boost up your rankings. So a lot of people, I don't think, utilize complementary content. So if you're writing a blog post about, a CRM, for instance, you're going to mention different topics that are probably other blog posts that you have. Why not link to those? So I think that's a strategy that a lot of people don't utilize, but should, and that can definitely help boost rankings as well. So that's a tip that I would recommend.
I would probably say technical SEO is where I would dive in first. Kind of make sure your own house is in order before you go out and try to bring people over. So make sure that you have meta descriptions and page titles. Make sure that you have user-friendly URLs. Make sure you don't have no indexes on your pages. That's a big one people run into. So they wonder why they're not ranking. It's because they told Google, don't rank me. So taking care of that stuff, making sure Google Search Console is set up, and then Google Analytics, really just kind of the housekeeping stuff, and then letting that data kind of dictate what you do next. If you see in Search Console that a lot of people are searching for one specific service you offer, that gives you a great head start on like where to start optimizing. Whereas if you just pick one at random, you might optimize for a page that people just don't care about right now or people aren't looking for, and you're kind of wasting your own time. So use your own data to your advantage. Be very intentional with the things that you do. Have a straight strategy in mind. It's easy to go out and look up like good SEO blogs or even go into the beginner guide and just kind of get lost looking at everything that's on there. So just kind of take it one step, get the low-hanging fruit first. Make sure your site is ready to be indexed and ready to house traffic, and you have good conversion points that can turn that traffic into sales. Otherwise, you're going to start sending people to a place that you don't really want them to be at yet.
Yeah, great point. And I think we covered so much ground. I love thinking about just answering questions. Today, I see so many of the search results are what they would call those featured snippets, where it's literally just the text. You don't even need to click in to go to the link anymore. So much of SEO is now not going to your website, unfortunately, but just providing that answer for people in a clean, packaged way. So I just recommend being more conscious. Now that you're woke, you went to this talk and now you learn more about SEO. Now as you take search results that you do to learn information, try to figure out why are they ranking in that first position? What shows up? Is it a box? Is it a special feature? Is it a series of links with embedded links inside of that? Just starting to reverse engineer the things that you click on will begin to give you tips for how to structure your own content. And that's how we learn, people. So thank you very much for coming. This is our fourth Let's Get Digital. So please give it up for our panel. Thank them for being here too. We do these every month, and I like to say on the same day every month, but I would be lying if we were going to do that next month, because we're not. We have to switch our dates, and if you're on the email list, we will communicate that. But our next topic is e-commerce. After that, we're going to dig into marketing automation and marketing technology, and from there, we'll see. I mean, the world of digital marketing has so many interesting nuances, and we appreciate sharing them. So stick around. Feel free to grab another beer and talk to each other. That's why we do this. This is all put on by the team at Sculpt. So go ahead and thank them when you see them, and we'll see you next month. Take care.